He was Hollywood's golden boy, until addiction, arrests, and prison nearly destroyed everything. But Robert Downey Jr.'s story didn't end there, it started there. In this emotional, cinematic deep dive, we explore the untold journey of one of the greatest comebacks in entertainment history. From childhood trauma and public breakdowns to becoming the face of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is more than a celebrity story, it's a human story. A story about redemption, resilience, and the power of second chances. Filtered truth behind the man who became Iron Man, and then became something even greater. Ladies and gentlemen, gather round as we embark on a journey through the tumultuous and inspiring life of one of Hollywood's most enigmatic figures. Robert Downey Jr.'s story is one of prodigious talent, harrowing downfall, and a phoenix-like resurgence that has captivated audiences worldwide. Born on April 4, 1965, in the bustling heart of New York City, Robert John Downey Jr. was destined for the spotlight. His father, Robert Downey Sr., was an avant-garde filmmaker, while his mother, Elsie, graced the screen as an actress. Growing up in the artistic enclave of Greenwich Village, young Robert was immersed in a world where creativity knew no bounds. At the tender age of 5, he made his cinematic debut in his father's film Pound 1970, portraying a puppy, a whimsical beginning for a future star. However, the bohemian lifestyle of his parents introduced Robert to the darker facets of the entertainment industry early on. His father, a habitual drug user, exposed him to substances at an alarmingly young age, leading to a complex relationship with addiction that would shadow him for decades. Despite these challenges, Robert's passion for performance burned brightly. He honed his craft at the Stage Door Manor Performing Arts Training Center, a renowned incubator for young talent. By 1982, he had relocated to Los Angeles, determined to carve out his niche in Hollywood. His early career was marked by a series of supporting roles in films like Weird Science 1985 and a brief stint on Saturday Night Live during the 1985 to 1986 season. Though his time on SNL was short-lived, it was a stepping stone that led to more prominent opportunities. The late 1980s saw Robert's star ascend with standout performances in Less Than Zero 1987, where he portrayed a wealthy but troubled teenager spiraling into drug addiction, a role that eerily mirrored his own life. His portrayal garnered critical acclaim and showcased his remarkable depth as an actor. In 1992, Robert undertook the formidable task of embodying the legendary Charlie Chaplin in Richard Attenborough's biographical film Chaplin. His meticulous performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor and secured a BAFTA award, cementing his status as one of Hollywood's most versatile and talented actors. Yet, as his professional life soared, Robert's personal life unraveled. The 1990s were marred by a series of arrests related to drug possession, including heroin, cocaine, and marijuana. His struggles with substance abuse led to multiple stints in rehabilitation centers and even incarceration. These tumultuous years saw him in and out of courtrooms, with his once promising career hanging by a thread. Despite these setbacks, in 2000, he joined the cast of the television series Ally McBeal, delivering a performance that earned him a Golden Globe Award. However, his ongoing battles with addiction led to his dismissal from the show, and he faced further legal troubles. The turning point came in 2003 when Robert committed to overcoming his addictions. With the unwavering support of his family and friends, including actor Mel Gibson, he embarked on a journey of recovery. Gibson, recognizing Robert's immense talent, personally financed his comeback film, The Singing Detective 2003, demonstrating a faith in Robert that would soon be vindicated. Robert's resurgence was nothing short of extraordinary. He captivated audiences in films like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang 2005 and Zodiac 2007, each performance a testament to his enduring talent and resilience. However, it was in 2008 that Robert would redefine his career and leave an indelible mark on the cinematic landscape. Cast as Tony Stark in Marvel's Iron Man, Robert's portrayal of the charismatic billionaire inventor-turned-superhero was met with widespread acclaim. The film's success not only revitalized his career but also launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a cultural juggernaut that has dominated box offices worldwide. Robert reprised his role in multiple sequels and ensemble films, becoming synonymous with the character and solidifying his place as one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors. Beyond his on-screen achievements, Robert's personal life flourished. In 2005, he married producer Susan Levin, whose steadfast support has been a cornerstone of his sustained sobriety and success. The couple welcomed 2 children, and Robert also has a son from his previous marriage to actress and singer Deborah Faulconer. In 2023, Robert took on the role of Louis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, a performance that earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in 2024. This accolade was a testament to his enduring talent and marked a new chapter in his illustrious career. Not one to rest on his laurels, Robert expanded his artistic horizons by making his Broadway debut in McNeil, a play by Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Ayed Akhtar. His portrayal of Jacob McNeil, a novelist grappling with the ethical implications of artificial intelligence, was met with critical acclaim, further showcasing his versatility as a performer. In a move that surprised and delighted fans, Robert returned to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2024, this time stepping into the role of the iconic villain Dr. Doom. Now, let's talk about the miracle of second chances. Because when Robert Downey Jr. stepped into the shoes, or rather, the iron boots of Tony Stark in 2008, it wasn't just another role. It was the role. The one that would not only redeem his career, but redefine the superhero genre entirely. He wasn't the studio's first choice. Hell, he wasn't even in their top 5. Marvel execs were nervous, understandably so. Here was a man with a long public record of addiction and arrests, a wild card with a history of self-destruction. But director Jon Favreau saw something else. He saw the perfect blend of charm, genius, and self-doubt. And let's be honest, Tony Stark was Robert Downey Jr. in so many ways. The arrogance, the brilliance, the recklessness, the vulnerability, it wasn't acting. It was almost autobiographical. "I am Iron Man," he said at the end of that first movie, and with that one line, he changed everything. Not just for Marvel, not just for his own life, but for the film industry. That moment set off a cinematic universe that would dominate pop culture for over a decade. And while the world saw Iron Man, the icon, behind the scenes Robert was rebuilding. Slowly, carefully. He didn't just want to be sober, he wanted to live sober. He found discipline through martial arts, meditation. He surrounded himself with people who held him accountable. One of the most important of them? Susan Levin, now Susan Downey, his wife. They met on the set of Gothica in 2003. She was a sharp, grounded producer. He was still freshly out of rehab, unpredictable, a bit chaotic. At first, she didn't want anything to do with dating an actor, especially one with his past. But Robert was persistent, not just in pursuing her, but in showing her that he wanted to change. She became his anchor, his mirror, his champion. They married in 2005, and he's credited her with being the reason he stayed clean. "She's the one," he said in multiple interviews. "She pulled me out of the fire." Their partnership extended beyond romance. They started a production company together, Team Downey. And while Robert's career exploded with Marvel, they were quietly building something sustainable, meaningful, long-term. The MCU became a juggernaut, and Downey its beating heart. Iron Man 2, The Avengers, Iron Man 3, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, he was the thread that tied the whole universe together. He brought humor, gravitas, and a very real human depth to a character who, in lesser hands, could have just been a flashy billionaire in a suit. By the time Avengers, Endgame came out in 2019, audiences around the world were emotionally invested, not just in the hero, but in the man playing him. When Tony Stark snapped his fingers and said, "I am Iron Man," one last time, it wasn't just the end of a character arc, it was a personal full circle. Downey, the man who'd once been dismissed by Hollywood as damaged goods, had become its biggest star. But here's where stay in the spotlight. Chase the next billion-dollar franchise. But Robert? He's always been a little different. After Endgame, he stepped back. He didn't want to be just Tony Stark. He didn't want to be boxed in. So he started exploring, producing, supporting projects he believed in. He voiced characters, did documentaries, spent more time with his kids, chose quiet over chaos. And then came a new chapter, a chance to remind the world that beyond the arc reactor and the CGI, there was still a serious actor in there. A real one. And trust me, that part's worth sticking around for. So there he was, off the Iron Man throne, no longer armored up, no longer backed by a multi-billion-dollar franchise. And the question that hung in the air was, what now? Because for some actors, that kind of iconic role becomes a trap, a gilded cage. But Robert? He wasn't about to be remembered for just one chapter, no matter how massive. He had more to say, more to prove, and, perhaps, something deeper to reconcile with himself and with the audience that had watched him fall, rise, and then hover in the space between. That's when Christopher Nolan called Oppenheimer a historical epic, a complex morality play, and a chance for Downey to disappear into something completely different. The role? Lewis Strauss, a calculating, sharp-edged political figure, utterly unlike the charming rogue persona Robert had mastered. And that's exactly why he said yes. This was a test, not of fame, but of skill. Could he still command the screen, not with explosions or charisma, but with silence? With tension? With the slow, controlled unraveling of a man whose motives were constantly questioned? The answer came in 2023, when Oppenheimer premiered, and Downey delivered what might be the most nuanced performance of his career. Audiences sat stunned. Critics called it a revelation. For the first time in a long while, the conversation wasn't about Robert Downey Jr. the comeback kid or the superhero. This was Robert Downey Jr. the actor, the serious actor. And in early 2024, it became official. He stood on the stage of the Dolby Theater, holding an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Not as an apology for his past, not as a token for being a beloved figure, but because he'd earned it. Every line, every glare, every quiet moment of power in that film was a lifetime of experience crystallized into performance. He thanked his wife. He thanked his family. He even made a wry joke about his past, because that's who he is. Honest. Sharp. Never fully hiding the darkness, but never letting it define him either. And while that golden statue gleamed in his hands, it was just another marker on a road that had already proven extraordinary. But Robert wasn't done surprising people. Later that same year, he took to the stage, not a movie set, but a real stage. Broadway. A return to his roots, in a sense. No retakes. No edits. Just live performance. Raw and vulnerable. The play was McNeil, written by Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Ayed Akhtar. Downey played Jacob McNeil, a reclusive novelist grappling with questions of identity, AI, and truth in a rapidly changing world. The role was dense, layered, more thought experiment than traditional drama. Audiences were floored. Critics said he carried the production like a man reborn. The same magnetism he brought to the screen, he now unleashed on the stage. No armor, no tech, no punchlines. Just presence. Pure and electric. What made it even more meaningful was the parallel. Here was an actor once consumed by his own demons, now playing a man haunted by questions bigger than himself. The parallels weren't lost on anyone. This was Downey at his most stripped down. And maybe his most powerful. And then, just when people thought they'd seen every version of him, Robert flipped the script again. You'd think Broadway, an Oscar, a legacy like his would be enough. That maybe Robert would kick back, live the quiet Malibu life, surf in the mornings, tinker in the garden, and drift into graceful semi-retirement. But Robert Downey Jr. has never been the type to coast. And so, in a move that felt like it came straight from the multiverse, news broke in late 2024 that he was returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But not as Tony Stark. No, this time, he was stepping into the shadows. Doctor Doom. Yeah, that Doctor Doom. The infamous ruler of Latveria. One of the most complex, intelligent, and menacing villains in the Marvel pantheon. A character fueled by pride, pain, and a distorted sense of justice. It was shocking, unexpected, and, frankly, kind of brilliant. Fans were divided at first. Some couldn't imagine him in a villain role after watching him save the universe. But Robert didn't flinch. He dove into the character with the same obsessive commitment he brought to Chaplin, to Tony Stark, to Strauss. And once the trailer dropped, all doubts vanished. The internet exploded. The gravitas in his voice. The way he carried Doom's mask. The quiet fury behind every word. It wasn't just a performance, it was a full reinvention. Downey wasn't playing a villain for the sake of shock value. He was interrogating something deeper. What happens when a genius lets grief become godhood? When control becomes religion? And while the film itself is still yet to be released, insiders are already calling it his most daring work since Iron Man. Some say he might break his own Oscar streak. Others are just thrilled to see him take risks again. But what's most fascinating isn't the character, it's the why. Why step back into the Marvel world after such a perfect exit? Why risk the legacy? Here's the thing, Robert has always played chess while others play checkers. This wasn't about nostalgia. This was about transformation. Tony Stark was a redemption arc. Doctor Doom? That's evolution. It's about proving that even after decades in the industry, he's still unpredictable. Still dangerous in the best way. Still capable of making audiences lean in, hold their breath, and whisper, is that really him? And in his personal life, he's never been more grounded. His relationship with Susan is stronger than ever. They've raised a family, built a production empire, and somehow managed to stay out of the Hollywood tabloid circus. He spends his time now not chasing fame, but cultivating peace. Farming. Environmental projects. He's even been involved in ecological research, helping to promote sustainable tech and soil regeneration. Yes, soil regeneration. Robert Downey Jr. went from court-ordered rehab to rebuilding the earth. No big deal. And perhaps that's the greatest twist of all. That a man once written off as a lost cause, a burnout, a cautionary tale, became not just a comeback story, but a blueprint for reinvention. Because Robert didn't just clean up his act, he rewrote it. And he's not done yet. It's a strange thing to watch someone live multiple lives in one lifetime. But that's exactly what Robert Downey Jr. has done. Not just in the characters he's played, but in the man he's become. He's been the wild child of underground cinema, the charming bad boy of the 80s, the fallen star of the 90s, the unlikely superhero of the 2000s, the Hollywood powerhouse of the 2010s, and now, in the 2020s. Something altogether more rare, a man at peace. But don't mistake peace for passivity. If anything, he's more deliberate than ever. Every project he touches now feels infused with intention. It's no longer about box office records or critical praise. It's about meaning, legacy, resonance. He speaks more these days about the cost of addiction, not just to himself, but to the people who loved him through it. He's open about his gratitude, his humility, but he never tries to rewrite the past. He wears it like a scar, a visible, honest reminder of where he's been. And maybe that's what makes him different from so many other stars who burn bright and vanish. Robert didn't try to erase the worst parts of his story. He used them. He used the pain, the guilt, the failures, all of it, as fuel. Not to punish himself, but to build something stronger. And through it all, he's never lost that gleam in his eye, that mischievous sparkle that suggests he's always 2 steps ahead, already thinking of the next transformation, the next evolution, the next impossible thing to make real. In private, he's described as introspective, funny, philosophical. He'll talk about Jung, quantum theory, Eastern philosophy, and then switch mid-sentence to a story about his goats. Yes, goats. He raises them. There's a gentleness to him now. The same man who once crashed sports cars at 3 a.m. and wound up in a stranger's bed with a gun under his pillow now wakes up before dawn to walk his dogs and write poetry. He said that fame is a mirror. It shows you what you are good or bad, and sometimes magnifies it until it breaks you. But for him, it also helped him see who he was, who he could be. And for those of us watching from the outside, it's been more than entertainment. It's been a lesson. That recovery isn't linear. That success doesn't erase your demons. That redemption isn't about erasing mistakes. It's about what you do after you've made them. Robert Downey Jr. became more than Iron Man. He became a living testament to resilience. Proof that no matter how far you fall, no matter how deep the hole, there's a way back. If you fight for it. If you believe. If you love hard enough and are loved in return. So, the next time you see his name on a movie poster or hear that voice in a trailer, remember this. You're not just watching a performance. You're watching a man who walked through fire and came out gold. And that's real magic. Years from now, when people look back at the era of superhero films and cinematic universes, Robert Downey Jr.'s name will be etched at the top. Not just because he played Iron Man, but because he was the iron will that held so much of it together. But his true legacy? It's quieter, deeper, harder to put into a headline. It's in the way he talks to recovering addicts who show up at his events and tell him, "You helped me believe I could turn my life around." It's in the letters he's written, anonymously, to people trying to rebuild what they once broke. It's in the way he listens, not just to answer, but to understand. And it's in the choices he makes now. He mentors young actors, not in the glossy, red carpet way, but privately, over coffee, on set. He tells them, it's not about the fame. It's about staying true to yourself when the world is trying to sell you someone else. He's investing in art, in science, in environmental healing. His foundation is working on AI ethics, clean energy, animal rescue. Things that are